Live in the flesh, KXVS Radio, the voice of Stockton, KXVS 92.1 FM.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the CK Podcast number 300. Dustin Details Breakbill alongside the one, the only, excuse the music, just landed from Las Vegas, the one and only Leo Biaz. Hey, Leo.
I'm excited to be back, my man. It was 9 days in Vegas. We got stuck in the desert, and we had a little hangover remix out there, man.
So we'll talk about that in a second. E-Man's in the studio alongside us in the background over there working on some stuff. But how was Las Vegas? Take us through the journey. We saw it all in the vlogs on the CK Podcast. But before that, I want to go tell the fans to go like us on all our platforms. Audio Boom, TuneIn. Sports Now is doing a huge thing over there. We're on TuneIn also now, where you can hit us and like us and automatically get the podcast. We're also we're working on Spotify, right? Still it's pending.
Google Play.
Google Play also. So we're on a lot of platforms, and it's pretty great. And of course, Audio Boom, our number one platform, to help you guys listen to us.
And we would love for you guys to drop a nice comment or a rating on iTunes, because that's what sponsors like to see. But with that said, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the vlogs and the journey that we took you guys through. We were at Top Golf. We were at the chicken place with the disco and things that we don't see in Sacramento or in Stockton. But when you go to bigger markets, you tend to see those type of things. It was fun, Dustin. It was super hot. I couldn't wait to come back because we're just not used to that weather. At 1, 2, 3, 4 a.m., it was still 110 degrees. So, that's ridiculous.
And it was pretty cool seeing you and Manny in front of the Tark statue at UNLV, which I know you're wearing your Nevada polo today, but still, it's Jerry Tarkanian. It's one of the most recognized programs in college basketball history. And you guys using that as your backdrop to talk about Summer League, which was at Thomas and Mack most of the Summer League, besides T-Mobile for a couple games.
Actually,
MGM, my bad.
It was the Cox Pavilion, and it was Thomas and Mack. But I think you're confusing it with today's news, which is they will play at T-Mobile. Kings Lakers. I believe it's the 5th or the 8th of October, if I'm not mistaken. I have to double check on that. But still, it's the yearly thing to do. You face the Lakers in Las Vegas at the T-Mobile Arena. It's going to be lit, like lit.
I was actually thinking of the Las Vegas Golden Knights because they're playing at T-Mobile now, hockey and professional sports in Las Vegas now. That should be interesting. Actually, here's the preseason schedule. That game is on October 8th back in Vegas. Then another home game against Portland, back-to-back dates. So it's going to be interesting.
Talk about the schedule.
Okay, October 2nd against the Spurs at home. Then October 6th in San Antonio against the Spurs at the AT&T Center. Lakers in Vegas on October 8th. October 9th, Damian Lillard and C.J. McCollum. Maybe Carmelo Anthony, which we'll tease about in a little bit. And also on the show, also on the preseason, Clippers and Warriors, both away to finish the preseason.
And before we dive into the schedule and to the rumors and stuff, I do want to mention that Valley Tire Center is having a great Firestone tire sale right now, guys. Go check it out. If you need some tires, they have your back. Download their free mobile app to get free tire balancing. That's about $50 worth right there. So all you got to do is download the app. It's free, and you will receive a free tire balancing. Check out valleytirecenterwoodland.com for more information.
So, okay, you guys went to Summer League. I saw the vlog where you guys trying to get a video out basically right before when the plane was taking off, and that was successful. E-Man was really happy about that. He was giving you high fives and stuff. I thought the flight attendant would tell you guys to calm down, or we'd have to make this plane stop before it took off.
I know.
But how was the trip to Vegas, and spent 9 days there? Very hot, as you said. said. But it was fun getting to see some of these young players in the NBA.
You know how they say for athletes, set the tone early, and the rest of the game will take care of itself?
Yeah.
We set the tone early on the flight, and the trip was a complete success. We got literally, as you said, the flight attendant looked at us, and she was like, "What are they doing?" I had my I had my Wi-Fi on, my LTE on throughout the entire trip, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it needs to upload because the fans need the news. And successfully, we got it done. It was nerve-wracking. At the same time, it felt good when the video was up. So you had to be there to really feel the things that we were feeling, like, oh my gosh, we have to get this up. The video was ready. Manny has sent over the voiceover, and all we had to do was just put some, B-roll together, and boom, it literally happened in 10 minutes. Yeah. That's how fast we got it up.
So it's what, about an hour and a half flight to Vegas?
Hour flight.
You guys get picked up by Manny.
Yeah.
But how was the first couple days in Vegas? Because it was really crazy for the Kings the first couple days in Summer League.
Yeah, and yourself and I and all of us pretty much, we thought the Kings would do a lot better, but we also didn't predict injuries and Buddy Hield playing 3 games and stuff like that. But we did see De'Aaron Fox be a hawk on defense. De'Aaron Fox was a blur in person. TV does not do him justice. I'm not kidding. Like, this guy is so fast. You're like, oh my! It's really breathtaking, Dustin.
It was, a great interview also.
He's so good.
He's so good. He gets it. He just gets it.
He just gets it.
He likes to take those jabs at Lonzo, and we'll talk about that in a second.
And I'll say this about Lonzo, about people saying that he's a robot. He's not a robot. The thing is, when you have a father that puts you in the light like that, your answers need to be short and concise. The way he does it. And I'll tell you this: whoever that PR person is, whoever's equivalent to Chris Clark on the Lakers, loves Lonzo Ball, because he will never put you in a tough situation where it's gonna generate controversy. He'll let his father do that. But Lonzo Ball will keep it classy, keep it professional, and keep it boring, because at the end of the day, you have to be a good image for the franchise.
Yeah, and it's pretty interesting to see that what they have done, the Lakers. They won Summer League. We'll talk about that in a second. We saw LeVar got told to shut up by Clipper Darrell, which was pretty hilarious. E-Man got that. I don't know how he got that, because Clipper Darrell is a legend, and that was pretty entertaining.
Honestly, I did not know who he was.
You didn't know who Clipper Darrell was? One of the biggest fans of all time. You need to listen to LA Sports Radio sometime.
We were like right next to the guy.
Yeah. That's one of the most biggest, basically... how would I say this? Fans, you know how they have those diehard fans in
like
other
the Jack Nicholson's.
Yes, but he's like the Clippers, like #1 fan who's not a celebrity. Wow. He's a celebrity because he's a fan. He's a fan.
So he's like sign lady.
He's like
Kings.
a sign lady for the Kings. He's exactly what sign lady is. But Summer League, the other guy, people were talking about, Dennis Smith Jr.
Oh my God, he's breathtaking.
Some people think he might win Rookie of the Year. What's your takeaway? And how do you think Dallas did great picking him, I think. It was a great pick, and a lot of people thought they were going to go somewhere else, but Dennis Smith's kind of proving what he's doing so far.
I'll say this. Dennis Smith is a spectacular athlete, Dustin, but there's a big but. And he showed it again when he tried to dunk on the Kings towards the end of the game, when it wasn't needed. I get that he was trying to get the crowd, the oohs and the ahs. But anytime you try to do those type of things at the NBA level against grown men, they will put you on your butt. And that's how injuries happen. Every time he flies, my heart stops. I'm like, please don't get hurt. And a lot like RG3, it's going to be a huge concern, in my opinion, because these guys just don't know when to stop. That's the way they play, recklessly, but that's how they came up playing, right? And that's who they are as an athlete. So I can't fault him for continuing to do that, but I would give him advice and say, stop doing that, because the guys in the NBA are no joke, and they're not as athletic as you, but they're pretty darn strong and athletic at the same time. So anytime you try to dunk on someone and showboat like that, it's not going to end up well. But overall, his game is nice. Again, he reminds me a lot of Eric Bledsoe. People forget how good Eric Bledsoe was before his injuries. Yes. So, and again, he tried to do the same thing. He was trying to dunk on everybody, alley-oops, blah, blah, blah. It just doesn't work that way, man. And I'm hoping that it does work for Dennis, though.
And we'll talk about the Suns in a little bit because they're in the news, too. They have a new vice president
Okay.
of basketball operations. Actually, he just finished playing his NBA career for the Cavs. That would be Mr. Jason Jones. So that's also another thing we'll talk about in a second. After spending 14 years on 7 straight teams that made it to the finals, he's the new VP of player personnel in Phoenix. But as you said, Summer League, it's a ESPN and NBA TV. It's all on TV now. It's kind of great to see the Summer League. It's a huge event now. It's getting bigger every year.
And last year, I believe the tickets were $20. They went up to $30. But still, as a fan, I know for some people it's still kind of expensive. But I'll put things in perspective. When you compare $30 for the entire day, you get to watch every single game all day long, as opposed to paying $100 for one single game at the Golden One Center. It's a great event if you have a big family to take your kids out, to enjoy the rookies. There's a lot of things to do on the concourse level.
Oh, excuse me, James Jones, not Jason Jones.
Yeah,
but
James Jones.
Yeah,
and it's just a great event, Dustin, being there. They had Mariachi Day, and they really mix in a lot of cultures in one place, which is always good, which shows the diversity we have in this country, which is why America is great and always will be great.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun to see the progress go up. But as you said, the Kings, decent, kind of okay summer league. But did you really expect them to contend for that title?
I did
some of the top
expect
teams.
I expected them to contend for that title because they pretty much have their entire team on the summer league team. Like,
yeah.
I'm not gonna make excuses. De'Aaron Fox could have played if he really needed to, and he didn't.
Yeah.
He was very open about that. It was more of a precautions matter, that anytime you have a high personality, a high draft pick like that, you don't want to risk it for Summer League. At the same time, you still want your guys to compete at a high level. And I feel like they did that towards the end. They finished strong. Justin Jackson had, 25 and 29, I believe, his last 2 games, which is really impressive. The kid looks like a Greg Popovich guy. Eman and I were like, that guy is a Spurs player. He just gets it. He moves well without the ball. He shoots the 3-point shot very well. Towards the end of the game, I had asked him, do you like having the ball
in your hands?
Down the stretch? He goes, I love it.
Yeah.
That's how I thrive. And he proved that on North Carolina.
He did prove that in North Carolina. That's what they won the national championship year this year
and
against
the year
Gonzaga.
before, they lost at pretty much
a buzzer beater.
Exactly.
So I think that's going to be fun to see him. And actually, I wanted to ask you about that. We said this before in the previous podcast, that these guys were really excited about because of what their press conferences have been so far. And how did that continue down at Summer League, basically talking to some of these guys, getting to know them more? How was your takeaway from the guys in the rookie level, the press conferences?
Justin
basically?
Jackson, De'Aaron Fox, the exact same guys that we spoke to at the press conferences is who they are. I mean, they're genuine human beings.
Natural leaders.
You got Frank Mason, a guy who just, when he scores and when he doesn't score, he has the exact same reaction. He is who he is. He's very mellow tone. He's not going to showboat and yell. And that's just who he is. He has that face where he's even keel, right?
Yeah,
he's going to be consistent with that all the time. Who else was a different rookie? Buddy.
Buddy's, yes. Buddy's first Summer League with the Kings also. So.
Yeah. So at first he struggled, but if you watch that Laker game, he went off towards the end, and it just happened that he missed that last shot to tie the game. But overall, he brought the Kings back towards the end of the game. He had 3-point shot after 3-point shot, and the crowd was going crazy, dude. It was a great scene to watch.
Yeah, and it was fun to watch the games when I got a chance to watch them, and it kind of felt like, man, these guys are going to be special if they grow together, and it's just getting better and better, and Buddy and Fox and Justin Jackson.
And you add Zebo, and you add Vince Carter, and you add George Hill, which was a great press conference in its own.
Get to actually right now, a segue. How was your takeaway from that press conference? And Vince Carter shows up, and he's coaching, basically.
Yeah. Just, I was left in awe. These guys get it. They're true consummate professionals. These are the guys you want around this type of young nucleus, Dustin. Moving forward, Vlade Divac and Coach Yeager said, there are guys who young players say, who is that? Everyone knows who Zebo, Vince Carter, and George Hill are, and that's very important because if you bring in a dude that's super old, which Don't get me wrong. These guys are old, but at least the players know who they are.
Yes.
And when you know who they are, and you saw their struggle and the hard work that they put in, you tend to respect that a lot more.
Justin Jackson probably walked past the Vince Carter pitcher every day
North Carolina.
in North Carolina. Yeah,
absolutely. So, and to me, that was one of the things I was like, Vince probably sees a little bit of himself in Justin Jackson, and there's the Tar Heel connection. Yeah. Why not come and mentor this young man? This guy has a nice skill set. So just a lot of positives from Summer League. Again, let's put things in perspective. It is Summer League, but at the same time, I like the way this franchise.
It's a maturing process.
Exactly.
Yeah. And okay, let's get to the press conference, as you said. How was the George Hill, Zach Randolph, Vince Carter, Vlade press conference? And George Hill was wearing a Chicago White Sox hat, too. That was pretty awesome. But how was talking to these guys and getting to know them for the first little bit?
Good guys. Again, they're just very, very smart, very good locker room guys. And I've always said this
leaders
in previous podcasts. You have to bring in guys that can play basketball and prove it on the floor.
And come from a culture of winning also.
Exactly. And these guys do that. So Zebo's still going to put up 10 points and 10 rebounds a night.
Yeah, he's going to get his.
So, I'm going to enjoy watching De'Aaron Fox and George Hill play together. People say, oh, well, he might take his minutes. He might take his minutes, but at the same time, George Hill can play the two guard. De'Aaron Fox already said, I can play. I feel comfortable playing the two guard because he's big enough to play a two guard, and he's big enough to guard the two guard, which is the most important thing. So anytime you can bring in a combo guard like that, it's a good thing.
And it's good a mix of veterans and rookies, basically.
You don't want to have too many rookies.
Because you consider Buddy a rookie still, kind of.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's going to be a great mix between all these guys getting to know each other and some of these veterans basically saying, do this, don't do this, do this. Be good in the community, be good at press conferences. Let's be a mature team. That's kind of the Spurs culture. Exactly. They bring in veterans with young guys.
And Bogdanovich was
we didn't even talk about that. How was that?
He's a very good dude. Mm-hmm. He's not as big as I thought he was. I'll say that.
Yeah, he didn't look that big.
Yeah, he's not as tall. There's no way he plays small forward. Mm-hmm. And if he does, it's going to be a super, super small lineup. Yeah. But to me, he's a shooting guard with the height of a point guard.
Kind of like a Dragic.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot like a Dragic. But I don't think he's as fast as Dragic.
Okay.
But he might be a little bit more physical than Dragic. But again, all of the...
subjective, basically.
It's all subjective, and it's all assumptions until we watch him play.
Yes, because we didn't
until we watch him play at the NBA level. People are like, well, he's going to take Buddy's spot. You don't know if he's going to take, because Buddy proved last year, towards the end of the year, that he can flat out shoot the ball at the NBA level. We don't know if Bogdan can do that yet.
No, we don't.
I'm sure he will, but we have to wait until he does it.
Yeah, so that is Summer League there. But let's talk about some of these other teams you got to see. Okay, I'm gonna throw this out. We talked about the Lakers already. How was their Summer League? They won the Summer League titles. We saw. What was your takeaway from Ball and Company, basically?
From Lonzo?
Yeah.
Lonzo is who I thought he was.
Yeah.
One of the most gifted passers already in the NBA. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's a guy that doesn't need the ball in his hands. He's not the guy that will, a lot like Rondo, wait until the shot clock ends.
Yeah.
And then get rid of the basketball and get your assist. Lonzo Ball is boom, boom, boom. Just get the ball out, play fast, play Showtime Laker basketball. It was the right pick, guy, and I'm glad they made that pick because that's where he belongs, and I can't wait to watch him progress as a Laker, as an NBA player, because y'all know me. I'm a huge fan of Lonzo Ball.
Okay, let's talk about this real quick. What was your takeaway from him not playing against Fox? Do you think some people said he was dodging him. Some people said Lakers.
You can't say he was dodging him. I mean,
it was the Lakers' decision.
UCLA did beat Kentucky once.
Yeah.
And if you want to be fair, you have to be fair and say, you know what, they're 1-1. Mm-hmm. Okay. So they're 1-1, and De'Aaron Fox would testify to that.
Yeah.
We're 1-1.
Yeah.
Okay. I might have outperformed him statistically in 2 games, but the end result wasn't what I wanted. So they're 1-1 until we see them face off in preseason, which I think they will at the T-Mobile. Exactly, in Vegas. This time for real. Well, semi for real. I mean, it is preseason, but I can't wait until they face each other But I'll say this. I believe Dennis Smith Jr. right now is a little bit more ready than both Lonzo and De'Aaron because they're both super skinny. And they're not as strong as they should be yet. But at the same time, they're 19 years old, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I expect Dennis to have a little bit better season, barring injury. So if they all stay healthy, Dennis will have a better season. But the better careers, I expect Lonzo and De'Aaron to have better careers than Smith.
Is there a rivalry there between Fox and Ball?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It started in college, and it's going to continue in the NBA because I expect the Kings and Lakers to be good.
And both fathers are involved also.
And both fathers are involved, which is good.
They don't like each other.
They don't. And it's funny how I think it was LeVar. He was like, only time you hear about De'Aaron is when he mentions when he puts my son's name in his mouth. And, you know.
Some of that goes back to the AAU stuff, which everybody doesn't know. LeVar Ball took Lonzo out and basically put him against inferior competition, again, not playing against Fox and Justin Jacksons and those types of guys. And basically a lot of people said that was LeVar basically taking the easy way out. So, but that's where the rivalry kind of comes from. But some
people are saying anyone going to miss Omri Caspi or Rudy Gay.
Ooh, we didn't even talk about Rudy yet, but go ahead.
He signed with the Spurs. Great move for him.
It's a Greg Popovich, R.C. Buford move. Great
move. Omri signed with the Warriors. Great move for him.
Yeah. What can we say? It's a great move all around. I don't know what else to give you.
Like, do
you want to go in depth on this? I just don't know if we can because they went to both winning franchises, and it's going to be
to the two best franchises
in the NBA.
In the NBA.
Yes.
Period.
So, it's kind of funny because I don't know what to say to that.
Danny Lupercio said, "How big of a loss is Scott Perry? Saw some articles that the Kings may try to go after Troy Weaver from OKC, assistant GM or Justin Zanuck from the Milwaukee Bucks, but just speculation.
Yeah.
How big of a loss do you think losing Scott was?"
I think Scott brought a lot into the Kings. I think he brought basically to help Vlade understand what being an NBA executive is and how to look at guys, because Vlade came from the player background. What do I do here? What do I do this? I played with guys. Vlade never had the scout route or somebody who he had basically a couple years with the Lakers doing scouting stuff. But Vlade never learned the front office thing. I think Scott, his time coming in from Atlanta, helped so much because Scott Perry learned under Danny Ferry. I know that's a big thing. You don't want to talk about Danny Ferry right now because he doesn't have an NBA job. But he was a great GM in Atlanta. And this is basically Vlade. He helped Vlade understand what kind of players you need and how to make moves. And you can't blame a guy for taking his dream job or going to take a job. You're running the New York Knicks. Let's be honest. The New York Knicks is a top 5 franchise in the NBA.
Absolutely. Regardless of how dysfunctional they are.
You can say anything you want about James Dolan. I think he's the worst owner in sports because of the way he acts and the way he doesn't. Okay, you mean you don't hire David Griffin because he wanted to fire Allen Houston and he wanted to make moves in the front office? It's a joke, okay? David Griffin knows more basketball than James Dolan will ever know. The only reason James Dolan is involved in the NBA is because he has money.
Yeah.
James Dolan should do what he does to the New York Rangers. Let people run the business, which they know how to, and let them... Because let's face it, I know this is an NBA podcast, but the NHL, the New York Rangers, they're one of the best franchises in hockey. And the reason they're successful is because James Dolan steps away from the hockey operations. And you know what he doesn't do with the basketball side of his company? He also owns the Rangers. I don't know if people know that.
Yeah.
James Dolan is in every aspect of the Knicks. He doesn't let anybody else have impact. And we see why the Knicks are failing. It's because of guys like Allen Houston who are not stepping up and basically telling James Dolan, we have to do this. It's basically a nameplate for Allen Houston. Sorry, there's my Knicks rant.
No, absolutely. You're right. But you would think, like, hey, dude, you have one successful franchise.
Yes.
Why not do the same thing with the Knicks? It's mind-boggling to me.
And he lets he lets the Rangers guys just run it, and they have great players like Hendrik Lundqvist, who's one of the top goalies of all time, and he doesn't let it for the Knicks. It's weird. It's kind of mind-boggling.
Yeah, and you know, I don't get it, but again, I applaud Vlade and his front office for allowing Scott to interview for the job and then getting the job with the New York Knicks. You don't want to keep anyone ever unhappy, man. That's just bad karma. Again, does it hurt the Kings? Sure.
Yeah.
But in the long run, it shows, hey, dude, if you make an impact on this franchise and you want to move up and get a promotion somewhere else, this team will allow you to do it. that's just it's a win-win for both sides. Again, it hurts because he made such a big impact in such short time.
Yeah.
But the league noticed that.
And Vlade learned a lot, too.
And Vlade learned a lot. So it's a win-win.
It's a win-win. Vlade learns, and it's not like Scott Perry of Vlade calls and picks up the phone and asks for advice that he's going to turn him down.
No.
The guy basically, Vlade let him be okay, we all know Vlade's the GM, but let's be honest, Scott Perry was the GM for a while. Vlade still has the name title, but Scott was there actually giving input. It's not like Vlade didn't just sit there and didn't take anything in, probably. Look at I think Scott Perry helped Vlade make the decision to get rid of DeMarcus a lot and made him feel comfortable and gave him some aspects because Scott's been there before. He's been through rebuilds in Atlanta and stuff like that. And now he's going to probably make the Knicks better, hopefully, if James Dolan lets him. And it's going to be interesting to see where he does. But remember, the Kings didn't give up anything for Scott Perry. They got some stuff in return.
Yeah. They got more for Scott Perry than they did for Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah.
Like, let's make that very clear right now. They got more for Scott Perry, who was there for 2 months.
Leo getting excited.
Than Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah.
Which, in some sense, it's good for the Kings now, but it's awful for the Kings back then. But someone did ask, at this point, do you guys think Coach Dave is our guy? Are you comfortable with him? I am.
I'm comfortable with Dave Yeager.
Too.
Dave Yeager's
I
a success story.
Yeah.
Well, let's be honest. Lionel Hollins, when Lionel Hollins left, everybody thought Memphis was going to fail, and they didn't. Dave Yeager kept that up, and Dave Yeager's a proven NBA winning coach. Now, you could say that was Lionel Hollins' teams, but Dave Yeager made those guys go to the playoffs. Sometimes coaching is a factor in the NBA. A lot of people don't like it to say it is, but sometimes it is. And I think Dave Yeager, just give him some good players. They'll find some room in the NBA playoffs very, very soon. Just give them time. Trust the process, as some people said in Philadelphia. But I think it's going to be interesting. I think Dave Yeager's one heck of a coach. How about you?
Too. I love Dave.
Yeah.
And someone said, to me, it's a loss. He's talking about Scott Perry, but no disrespect for Vlade Divac, but Scott Perry helped them in the draft and sign a right veteran players and free agent, but wish him luck.
We're not saying that, yeah.
Yeah, I'll say this. Scott Perry was a huge part of that. BMAC 994, but you also got to give Vlade credit because at the end of the day,
he makes the final decision.
He makes the final decisions, man. And
Scott Perry gave him advice. Yeah.
I feel like you're not giving him enough credit. I might be wrong, but from what you wrote, I'm implying that you're giving Scott way too much credit and not enough credit to Vlade Divac.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Scott Perry was basically somebody Vlade could talk to and basically vent to and ask because Scott's been in a front office before.
Yeah, and he has good contacts with agents.
And other GMs and other front office executives. Vlade never had that. As we said,
they threw him into the fire.
He basically said, okay, I'm here to do I'm a former great player of this franchise. I'm here to help you guys. And, by the way, you're the new general manager / president of basketball operations. Go ahead. Let's see what you got. And it's still a learning curve for the other guys in the front office. Paige has never done this.
Yeah.
And Paige has still learned under probably Scott Perry a little bit too.
Exactly.
So I think Scott Perry was a perfect guy to bring along at the right time.
And let's not forget about Ken Catanello, who was huge in these contracts. The fact that he got George Hill to accept that third year to be a team option and pretty much a buyout, that's huge. I told you, I said 2 years max for any of these veterans. They were all 2 years or less.
You always need a cap guy. Yeah, you always need a cap guy.
And that's him.
That's him. They always need that in the front office. Scott Perry was your player personnel guy who knew moves and how to make it. Paige is still learning as an assistant GM, overseeing the Bighorns and other stuff. And Vlade's still learning, and Vlade's the one that made the decision on DeMarcus finally. And Scott probably had a lot to do with that, basically saying it's going to be okay. I'm here if you need to talk. And I think this front office it's getting right because you need to bring in those guys to get other jobs because it tells people who come to your franchise, okay, I can do this. I can help out and I can get a job somewhere else.
Exactly.
Look at what happened in San Antonio because now Sam Presti's in Oklahoma City. He learned under R.C. Buford and other guys. So we've seen this in the NBA. You need culture. Look at what Scott Perry came from. He came from Danny Ferry. If Danny Ferry probably wouldn't left Atlanta, Scott Perry would have got a job somewhere else before he went to the Kings. But now Scott Perry had to go somewhere else to help get his resume to become a GM.
Yep. And someone's asking, do the Kings have a 2018 draft pick? Yes, they do. They don't have a 2019 first round, but they do have a 2018. And next year, We have a lot of dudes coming out. Michael Porter, Luka Donovic. It's going to be a good draft for small forwards.
Michael Porter going to Missouri instead of going to Washington. That was an interesting move, but
very interesting move.
Konzo Martin from the former Cal coach out at Missouri now. So because actually Porter was supposed to go to Washington and then he changed it the last second. But that's for next year's draft. But as you were saying, Scott Perry, I think it's a great move all around for Scott himself. Let's see if James Dolan lets him actually him and Steve Mills run the organization. I have strong feelings about Steve Mills too also, though.
And I'll tease this in. We have credentials to the 2019 Adidas big championship from the 26th to the 30th this month, where we're going to see Zion Williamson and the class of 2019. We're kind of we're like scouting for the Kings because we know that the Kings won't be good next year, and they probably won't be good in 2019. I think they'll be very competitive in 2019. But unless De'Aaron Fox becomes the John Wall that we think he will become this year, expect the Kings to lose some games, guys. I hate to say that and break you guys' hearts, but they're not going to win many games. And as I'm looking at...
trust the process.
Trust the process,
couple years down the road, the Kings will be good.
Yeah.
Because every couple years, there's a new team at the top of the NBA.
Exactly. And LeBron's getting older.
And LeBron's probably not going to be in Cleveland next year after all reports.
Probably not.
And Kyrie's not happy with Cleveland either, so... There's still great players out there.
And then someone asked me, do you think that we should have D. Fox at the 1, George Hill at the 2, or bench Fox and give him less playing time? Again, that's really up to Dave Yeager, but I do believe, and I mentioned this earlier in the podcast, they're going to play together a lot because both guys can play the 2. George Hill can play the 2 on offense, and De'Aaron Fox can definitely guard other 2s on defense because this guy is a hawk. And I was really impressed. E-Man was really impressed with his defense. That's a great sign moving forward.
Yeah, it's a great sign moving forward. Also, before I know we're changing topics a little bit, let's go back to Summer League real quick, then we'll talk about some other stuff going on in the NBA and, before we close out the show. Who was basically the player that a lot of people didn't talk about Summer League that stood out to you on any team?
I'd say it was Kuzma.
Yeah?
I think Kuzma showed out. He was the MVP of the game for the championship game, and the guy can flat out shoot. Magic Johnson, I believe, got a nice steal. I'm not going to say he was a steal of the draft, but he got a nice steal at number 27 or 28. I forget what he was. It was 27 to 29.
Yeah.
He pretty much traded back to go draft Kyle, and I was high on Kyle when he came to Sacramento. E-Man was high on Kyle. We all liked his game. I think he's a better version of Matt Barnes, a guy who can shoot the ball. And he said it best. We actually had those interviews with Lonzo Ball and Kyle Kuzma. He said, I wasn't as aggressive in college as I am now in Summer League, and that really helped him. He always had the skill set, but now he's putting it all together, and he's joining a very young team, a team that believes in him, which is the most important thing, because anytime you have confidence, that goes a long way.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see because I always like those guys, those underrated guys who stand out because they always get attention. Another thing that's in basketball news right now.
Someone said Donovan Mitchell, which I'm going to say this. I think he was the best player in Summer League.
Yeah.
And to me, he's not underrated. You asked me underrated.
No, yeah, I am underrated. Yeah, he's not underrated.
And Donovan Mitchell, everybody knows Donovan Mitchell is a stud.
He lit up before even Summer League started.
And he took like the last 3 games off because he was that good.
Yeah.
Like, no need to play him no
Utah's got some great players. Exum coming back. He hasn't even been to his self yet.
Yeah.
And I know they lost George Hill and Hayward, but I think the Jazz will be okay with who they have on the team.
They'll be fine.
Quinn Snyder's one heck of a coach.
Yeah.
Nike jerseys are out. Some basically they're not all out yet, but there's been some fan drawings also out there. But they're pretty sleek. I think I like the Kings ones a lot actually.
Blue almonds. The
can barely notice it on the white jersey.
Nice. It's not like soccer where they're all over the place. You got like 10 of them.
I thought they would be bad. Yeah, but they're not. Yeah.
It looks nice. It looks classy.
And Nike knows how to place them on the jerseys.
I mean, Nike is Nike.
Yeah. And I think this is actually great for the NBA with the new jersey contract because people, let's be fair.
How long is it?
How long is this jersey contract? Let me look this up. But they look sleek to me. I like the purple ones. I don't know how you felt.
I like them. I think they're sleek. Nike knows how to design athletic wear. Obviously, they're the kings in that department. And I actually like the idea of a local sponsor.
Same.
And Blue Almonds is Northern California company. I'm glad that they stepped up to the plate and they became that sponsor. Now, some of the questions that people were asking was, will that logo be on the replica jerseys? They will be, and that's part of paying that much money.
They're supposed to have, what I heard new reports, 5 jerseys, but the home team gets to pick what they want, and the away team has to basically contrast it. That's a new rule that's coming out. But I think that's kind of cool that you can pick any jersey you want, and plus your opponent just has to match basically.
Okay. I did not know that.
That's what I heard yesterday.
Okay. Someone said, do we think that George Hill will be healthy before the season? He will be healthy before the season.
George Hill knows what he's doing. He's been in the league long enough. Yeah. But also going around,
Yes, and he said blue diamond almonds. My bad. I said blue almonds for short, but you're right, bro. It's blue diamond almonds. Thank you for your input.
I can't find that contract, but I'll try a little bit.
Okay, but, and that's fine.
But
more
Warriors jerseys are out also, too. It's basically the same white thing they're wearing. But more comments?
I want to open that up to the people on
social media,
on the live stream right now. If you guys want to call in and ask a question, add us on Snapchat. E-Man's waiting for the calls. If you guys want to call in, we're accepting 3 people max today. If it's just one person, if it's nobody, it's nobody. But if you guys want to call in and give us your input on Summer League or any news around the association, call in and join the conversation. I also want to mention that if you guys are looking for those scout cards, those buddy cards, the Aaron Fox cards, visit HoopCats.com right now. They will hook you up. They have authentic autograph cards, guys. They are the best in Sacramento. If you're looking for any Kentucky Wildcat, anybody, they have them all. Visit their website. Like them on Instagram. They always do free giveaways, like random giveaways. You should definitely follow them at HoopCats on Instagram. And I also want to mention POWERHANDZ. If you guys haven't seen me with the POWERHANDZ gloves, they really help, guys. I mean, these gloves are heavy. They make your hands lighter. They're super cool to wear. I mean, you look like a legitimate star, right? Mm-hmm. And I just want to, tell you what they are. POWERHANDZ are performance-enhancing sport gloves and athletic training products innovatively designed to both strengthen hand and arm muscles and intensify players' dexterity. That is why the CK team uses them. E-Man uses them. Dustin uses them. I use them. That's how we have ball lean handles. But yeah, visit POWERHANDZ.com for more information, because if you want to take your game to the next level, POWERHANDZ is for you guys.
Also, some other NBA news out there this week. Rockets are up for sale now. Leslie Alexander, the owner, is basically saying they're up for sale.
After giving up so much money to James Harden.
And getting Chris Paul and maybe Melo. I don't know how that's going to happen, but we'll talk about Melo in a second. But I want to say, how much do you think the Rockets are going to get sold for? We saw this a couple years with the Kings. The Rockets, people in Texas have money. So Leslie Alexander can accept any bid he wants almost, as long as it's NBA approved. But
what if the Jones comes in from the Cowboys?
Jerry Jones?
Can you imagine that?
Owning the Rockets and the Cowboys?
Yeah,
Ooh.
Is that a conflict of interest?
No. So Stan Kroenke owns the Rams and, gave it to his son basically. So the Jones family could buy it. But do you think Houston's going to be basically the Warriors' foil in the next couple of years, or is it going to be somebody else? Because them selling this, I think this is a Leslie Alexander move. Sell out now. I'm a pretty older guy, and I could sell the team, which is good right now.
That's exactly what that is. Because the NBA will continue to make and generate a lot more money.
Yeah.
Every year the cap is going to go up, and someone said, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but someone said, well, they cut Costa Koufos. No, he's not going to be released anytime soon. The guy's under contract. He's a great veteran.
He's a Dave Yeager guy.
He's a Dave Yeager guy, and as of right now, we don't know what we have out of Willie Cauley-Stein. We don't know what we have out of Papa Giannis. We don't know what we have out of Scal. So you need to keep that veteran, a guy who we know will get you 10 points a night. And he's going
to play with Zach Randolph again.
Which he knows how to play with Zebo. So anytime you have a guy like that, guys, you have to keep him. And he's under contract. He has one of the best contracts in basketball.
And you need some of those big front veteran guys up front, because the young guys are still learning to play in the post, and Koufos and Zach can teach them how to play in the post. And I think it's great for the locker room. If you have a mixture of young guys with veterans, it makes great team chemistry.
Exactly. And Alan Wingate said, HoopCats, exactly, Alan, hoopcats.com. If you need any type of NBA cards, autographs, any type of memorabilia, visit them. It's hoopcats.com. And someone also said something about free agency. They said, what's the worst free agency signing in the NBA so far? Your thoughts?
Oh, that's a hard one. What is the worst one? What are some of the contracts out there right now? I'm trying to think. It's been a crazy couple weeks. I don't think there was a ridiculous one this year. The guy
from the Knicks? The guy who signed back with them from the Hawks?
Oh, yeah, okay, Tim Hardaway Jr. Yeah, that was awful. Okay, let's be honest, that was awful. That was a Steve Mills sign. Scott Perry would never do that. That was Steve Mills basically saying, okay, we drafted you a couple years ago. Let's.
Don't get me wrong, he's a good player.
He's a good player, but not that much money worth. Yeah. But remember, the market dictates this. We saw everything with Timothy Mozgov the last couple of years ago. He made the money because of the TV contracts. But let's be legitimate. He doesn't make that much money if it was based on talent. It's because they have this money and they have to spend this money.
Yes.
That's why they do this. You could still say it's an awful deal. It is an awful deal. But Tim Hardaway Jr. is just making money, and the Hawks are like, oh, we're not matching that. Well, actually, speaking of that, I'm not going to say awful preseason signing. I'm going to say who had the worst this offseason, I mean. It's been the Atlanta Hawks. I'm sorry. They basically have nobody on their team from a couple years ago, and they were a frontline NBA All-Star team, and I just think it's a leadership change. That's why it's happening. Mike Budenholzer's not in charge of basketball operations anymore. He's just coaching now.
Do you think that he's going to last there? Or?
I think he's going to be done after this year, or midway through this year. I just think the Hawks are in transition, and I think Atlanta, they're going to do this, and it's new people, so we're going to see Mike Budenholzer go away. So.
And someone said, do you see any more trades if the season starts out shaky? No.
Remember, the season does start earlier now.
It does start earlier, and I'll say this. The front office has tried to convey this message to the public and to everyone, and the media included. It's going to take at least a year to get this program back in the winning ways. It's not going to happen overnight, guys. Stop dreaming of that. I just hate to be that Debbie Downer, but it's not going to happen, guys. So get over that. Just accept it and watch the rookies and second-year guys and third-year guys develop this upcoming season.
As Sam Hinkie once said, trust the process.
Trust the process, guys. And I know someone said, I've been trusting the process for 12 years. I get it. It's frustrating. It's frustrating for us. We hate covering a losing team.
Okay, I just mentioned Sam Hinkie, and we saw those reports a couple weeks ago or months ago about him coming to Sacramento. Scott Perry is now gone from Sacramento. Do they bring in another front office executive who's done this before? No, you don't think so? Not Sam. Somebody else, maybe.
Not Sam. Somebody else. I think someone had mentioned the guy from OKC. I like him. What did he say?
There was a great article a couple weeks ago.
Was it about the front office on ESPN?
No, it was about Sam Hinkie. I'm going to mention this real quick. It's from Reed Forgrave, who's a great writer.
Okay.
It basically said, Mangle mocked and run out of Philly. It's time to appreciate Sam Hinkie's process. And I kind of thought about this. You kind of have to give him a little credit. I know the tanking thing's awful and everybody hates it. It's bad for sports. I agree with that. But his method kind of worked for Philly in this odd way right now. We haven't seen it on the court yet.
Yeah.
But we're seeing the process he put them through. It's kind of ridiculous how many first-round picks and first overall picks they have on this team, and how much talent they have on this team.
But wouldn't you say that's a bad thing? Because the ultimate goal is to get out of the lottery, right?
True, yeah.
And he kept them in the lottery. And Vladdy's saying 1 year. He's not saying 3, 4, 5 years like Sam Hinkie did.
No.
So when you say trust the process, I expect 2 years max.
Okay.
And if you don't do it in 2 years, you're gone.
But what's to say about ownership in Philadelphia? Also, Brett Brown, they haven't fired him as the coach, and he's a Popovich guy like Budenholzer.
Yeah.
So they're kind of making him stick for the long run to see what he can get out of these guys. So it's kind of like a 50-50. I think as a coach, Brown hates it, but he's saying, okay, we have all this talent. Let's see where we can. They also brought in J.J. Redick this offseason, so that's a 1-year deal. But I know we're talking about Philadelphia, but it's kind of interesting when we're talking about maybe guys coming into Sacramento, because there was reports that Sam Hinkie was one of the list of Scott Perry left earlier this offseason who would come in to replace him on his role. But we're going to find out. But that's another thing we haven't we need to talk about in a couple of podcasts in the future. Any more comments on YouTube?
Yeah,
we only got about
said,
20 minutes left on the show.
Someone said playoffs a 5 seed. Bro, if they make the playoffs a 5 seed, I will buy you 3 Kings jerseys, authentic ones. And that's how, I mean, stop. I want them to, and I want to buy you those jerseys. Trust me, I will buy you those jerseys if they get the 5 seed. Yeah. Period.
List what players you want.
So
also.
This is on video. I will buy you the jerseys.
It's 3:16 p.m. as this podcast we recorded on July 20th.
I will buy you 3 authentic jerseys if the Kings make the 5 seed. For free.
Who's it using?
And I'm not even like saying you got to give me something in return. I will buy you 3 jerseys, authentic ones, if the Kings make the 5 seed.
Who's this user?
I think it's Alan Wingate.
Okay. Oh, that's E-Man in the background.
But yeah, great wishful thinking.
Yeah.
Like, I hope they do, and I hope I spend that money because I want to see a 5-seed Kings team next season. Trust me.
A lot of us
I want to see that. I will pay for that. But yeah, guys, someone said, will Malachi get more playing time? It's really up to him. If he puts the work in, which he has been putting in, he gained a lot of weight in the offseason.
Remember that name, Malachi.
I mean, he said he's a forgotten one. He did re-aggravate the same hamstring, which is really, really concerning to me. Not to the point where I'm like, oh, well, he's done. No, to the point where there's an issue with the training staff. Like, this guy should not be getting re-aggravated on the same hamstring. Just a game in. I mean, he re-aggravated that on game 1. What does that tell you? Like, do they not? I don't want to assume things. I'm just saying they have to take a hard look at the training staff as soon as possible. And it's not a knock on them because I love those guys. Those guys motivate me every time I watch them on Instagram and on their IG stories. But again, something's going wrong where players should not be getting re-aggravated on the same hamstring that they rehabbed for. Go ahead.
A final thing real quick for me, and then we'll talk some comments also, and we'll recap the show a little bit. There's this report, though, that Carmelo Anthony, and we're still know his New York Knicks. We're talking about Scott Perry today. That's another thing. Maybe Perry's going to try to convince him to stay, give him a speech or something like that. Give him his pitch. But that's the final-ditch effort to keep Melo in New York. But I don't see why Melo's going to stay. But there's this report out there now that the Portland Trailblazers, who's had a bad offseason also, I think they're up there with the Hawks. Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum's trying to give him a pitch to come to Portland, and I don't know what Melo's thinking about it, but it's kind of interesting to see they're giving him a pitch to come to Portland, and it's interesting to me. I don't know what your takeaway from that is.
If he does go to Portland, the team's not going to play any defense, and I don't like the idea of that. So, I mean, that's my take.
Yeah.
I think he should go to a team like the Rockets or the Cavs that are ready to win right now. Period. Yeah. And someone asked, how long should we give Papa G a pass?
Wow.
3 years.
Yeah.
3 years. Because this guy is still 20 years old. He did get injured right in front of me. Literally, I have a video of him agonizing in pain, and I didn't want to post, the audio part to that because it was really bad. But give this guy at least 3 years. To me, ultimately, will be a backup center. But a backup center is a good thing.
Yeah.
A backup center means you're giving 10, 15 minutes a night, quality minutes.
And it's starting here and there. So,
yeah. And for a number 13 pick, that's good.
You guys all remember?
Don't expect an all-star. Expect a solid role player.
You guys remember Greg Ostertag, right?
Yeah,
that's what he did. He was solid. So come on, giving Papa G some hard times.
He's solid.
You can't expect Papa G to be one of the best centers of all time, but he's solid. We saw this in Summer League. He stood up for some of his teammates. So the guy's a great team player. That's what you want. We don't want selfish basketball. Remember when the Kings were in their heyday, everybody loved them because they were a team. Nobody wants a selfish squad. Nobody. And it's kind of frustrating when people say, are we already giving up on this guy? The guy's been in the league for how many years so far now?
Trust me, guys. If he becomes another Kufis, that's a good thing.
Yeah, Vladdy's not going to give up on him.
That's a really good thing.
Vladdy's not going to give up on him. Trust the process. But
yeah, the Papa should have never been picked so high.
Yeah.
That's not his fault that he was picked so high. And if you remember this, they traded Marquise Chris for Papa, Skal, and Bogdanovich. I'd rather have those 3 guys than one guy.
Yeah.
But that's just my take, Brian. Let me know what you think.
Hit him up. Leo B or BS Leo on Twitter.
Or just join the conversation right here, bud.
We got a couple minutes left. Anything else you want to talk about before we go, Leo? Some big things, takeaways from Summer League. You, E-Man, and Manny down there. Any phone calls on Snapchat, E-Man?
Yeah. Any phone calls on Snapchat? No. If you guys want to call in, you guys got 5 minutes. Hurry up and call in the show.
We gotta get going.
I want to hear from y'all right now. As long as he doesn't become a Spencer Hawes. If he becomes Spencer Hawes, that's a good thing, dude.
Yeah.
I don't care if you guys hate Spencer because of the things he said, but y'all can't deny that the guy can flat out play. I
had a Spencer Hawes T-shirt.
There you go.
Yeah, he could play.
And
he was a great
and
player,
the dude looks like Michael Phelps.
Yeah. So you can. Hey, the guy was from Seattle. Let's not hate on him because he was a hometown Sonics guy.
Where do you rank this NBA draft class? It's way too early, but just
top 3 all time.
If we base it on Summer League, by far the best ever, right?
How was
like it has to?
How was were you there for the Fultz game, Markel?
Yeah, it was. We were there and we watched him.
How was that?
That was awful to watch.
Yeah.
And then LaCuqua, he was bleeding from his mouth. And that was just an awful thing to watch. But yeah, says back in the day, San Antonio was one of the most hated teams in history because all they did was pass it to Duncan and Robinson and had no excitement.
Wow,
but
really?
Look now.
You're really going to say Dave Robinson and Tim Duncan wasn't good basketball because he just passed it down to the post?
I mean, that's pretty exciting if you're winning games.
Yeah, if you're winning games, you're not complaining. I don't think the Admiral or Tim Duncan was complaining about beating teams.
Jason said 8 seed. No, the Kings are not making the playoffs next year. Stop. Kings best 11 seed this year. I'm sure, but that's not the playoffs. So
unless the NBA changes the format before.
Yeah, unless they go top 16, and even then,
it's gonna be a stretch.
It's gonna be a stretch. What's the Snapchat call info? It's on Snapchat. It's CowbellKingdom. No spaces, no nothing. Call in right now, Tanner.
6 minutes.
Hurry up, Tanner. Melo in Houston could be a bad because they're all blogs. Agreed.
It's a Mike D'Antoni coach team.
Yeah, and Melo has to accept and play that Team USA Melo where he was unselfish and accepted his role.
And that's a hard Melo.
Yeah.
The convince.
Yeah, if you get that Melo, that's a good Melo.
You have to be LeBron James to convince him to do that. So.
And they don't have LeBron James.
They have Chris Paul, which is
pretty close.
Which is pretty close.
From a competitive standpoint.
Yeah, the president of NBA Players Union, but. Let's be honest. Chris Paul passes the ball. James Harden, and if you go to there, James Harden. Let's be honest. He's
Allen Wingate. I'm sorry to tell you this, bud, but you said we finally get the Clippers a couple beat downs. Are you serious? the Clippers signed Gallo, man. I mean, they signed Gallo. They have Pat Beverly. They got a bunch of the good players.
They got Milos Tedovic.
And they got Pat Beverly, so
they play together in the year.
That team's a playoff team, man.
Blake Griffin come back, yeah, that's a solid. DeAndre Jordan.
That's an 8 seed playoff team right there. That's how deep the West is. Like that team would be a 6 seed, a 5 seed, maybe in the East, barring that. Again, it's all going to depend on Blake Griffin, but that team on paper is much better than the Kings, and I hate to say that, but I have to be honest with you guys.
Minnesota might be a top 5 team in the West this year if they play good, because look, they just got Jamal Crawford also, so that's no joke there. Minnesota's going to be fun to watch also. Karl Anthony Towns, Andrew Wiggins,
I can't
Jimmy
wait
Butler.
to watch that guy play, man. I mean, once NBA 2K18 comes out,
I can actually wait to see Ricky Rubio in Utah.
Yeah,
under Quinn Snyder. It's gonna
Ricky Rubio, Donovan Mitchell,
Dante Exum still.
I would say Rodney Hood would get more of the playing time.
But Exum's still coming up, so
yeah,
he'll get maybe some time at the 2 guard also. They got some solid, Rudy Gobert also, so they got some solid players in Utah also.
The Warriors will reign the West forever if they keep that nucleus together, which I'm hoping that they don't.
Did you hear JaVale McGee's upset with him though? That's the rumor right now.
Is he gonna sign with them?
I have no clue. And it's not good. Oh, we have somebody on the phone. Leo's taking the phone. We got a caller.
What's up, Tanner? How you doing, brother?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, man.
How are you?
What you got for us today, bud?
All right. So I really just want want to talk about the Summer League effect and how that all went down. I'm excited for the Kings season. I'm really excited for what we have in hand. I'm not trying to overhype it, though, but is De'Aaron Fox what we expect?
Well, what's overhyping for you?
Yeah.
So I mean, I've been studying up on him and watching like all of his videos and such, and watching how quick he is and how versatile it is. Do you think that he is the perfect pick for the Kings right now? What's overhyping for you?
Yeah.
It's hard to say he's a perfect pick,
Yeah.
but he was the best pick for them at 5.
Best available
And
player.
then watching him play in person, as I said earlier, man, he is a blur in person, and he is a hawk on defense, and those things translate well to the NBA. So, anytime you get a guy who has that defensive mindset, that's always a good thing. He reminds me a lot of Pat Beverly, which is a good thing on defense because opposing teams hate pesks, and he definitely is a pesk.
That's going to be a great matchup to see him against Beverly this year, and
Yeah.
a lot of times in the West also. So I think Fox is basically, some could say there was a lot of great players at the top of this draft, but sliding down to 5 is no joke in this draft. Fox could have went high in this draft.
Yeah, Mitchell went 12. Think about that. And Mitchell's a stud. And
Yeah.
I still think they should have drafted Mitchell, but that's just my 2 cents.
Do you think it was smart for the Kings to pass up on Mitchell or Monk and go for the other two? I mean, I know Harry Giles. I don't know how to say it. Do you say Giles? I don't know. Whatever.
Giles, yeah. I honestly, bro, I would have went with either Monk or Mitchell, but I'm not mad at what they did because
Giles is good at small forward, yeah.
Harry Giles can become something special.
He was the number 1 pick coming out of high school, and this guy got injured at Duke, and I think he didn't really live up to expectations because of his injuries. But this guy is a long process player the Kings will stretch out and make.
Which is why he didn't play.
Yeah, watch why he didn't play, and he's going to be great
He's healthy,
for the years to come. Yeah.
but they weren't trying to rush him into something that he didn't need to be rushed into. He's a project, and expect him to play a lot at the G League in Reno this year, man.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that.
I'll say this though, Justin Jackson though, he really surprised me. And if he becomes that Nicholas Batum type player, that's very good for the Kings. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I'm just really excited for this Kings future. Went to the watch party. That was so much fun.
How was that?
The fans. Oh, it was fantastic. The community was amazing. I thought it was super funny whenever Lonzo popped up on the screen. The whole crowd was going crazy. I love the rivalry there. I think it's going to be a huge thing for the Kings, especially for the league coming up when they become the faces of the NBA in the future.
I can't wait for that, bud. And you know me, I'm a big Lonzo Ball fan, and I'm just ecstatic that this rivalry, which I've been praying forever to really revive itself, it's back, dude.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, my man. Thank you so much for calling in, bud.
Thank you.
All right.
And Leo, it's almost time for us to wrap up. Let's recap this podcast. We talked about Summer League, which was awesome. You guys survived the heat.
Yeah, we
no
did.
sunburn. Guys didn't get
Sunburn
dehydrated.
a little bit.
of sunburn. Spent some time at the pool, hopefully for a couple
We
of minutes.
didn't.
Oh man,
We didn't. That's probably the biggest regret. We did not go to the pool. We did not go to the
Hard Rock.
Yeah. The pool was a good idea at midnight.
Saw you guys went to In-N-Out. Other
we
places.
did. We went to Cane's Chicken.
Okay, but we talked about Summer League. What you guys liked from Summer League?
I beat E-Man twice, and he's a cheater, and everyone knows that. I lost by 21 the third game, but I beat him twice the first 2
You
games.
guys are hilarious. We talked about some other news in the NBA. Scott Perry, who's the head of the Knicks now, basically. Let's see where that goes. That wasn't a mistake by the Kings. The Kings.
So we
had to
covered
let it
everything,
go.
right?
We covered basically everything. Nike jerseys we talked about a little bit too. Melo couldn't be in Portland, but that's a long shot. Houston's up for sale. Some other things before we go real quick. Oh, yeah, this is episode 300, by the way. So congratulations to all the episodes you guys have done so far before this one. It's a big milestone for the podcast.
Absolutely. And again, thank you so much for taking over, Dustin.
Yeah, no problem.
You're doing a great job. And a huge shout out to Matt George, a very good friend of mine.
He's doing an awesome job in KHDK.
Exactly.
Every Saturday you can listen to him.
And, you know, and sometimes during the week, whenever he takes over, Carmichael Dave.
Yeah.
So make sure to follow him there. It's all love, guys. Again, thank you guys so much for all support. It's been 300 episodes of the CK podcast. James Ham, Jonathan Santiago, myself. So a lot of people have been on this podcast. You know, we've had great guests during these 300 episodes.
Yep.
And to all the guests, thank you guys so much for joining the podcast. And again, without you guys, we are nothing. Thank you guys so much, guys.
Yeah, now for Leo Bias, I'm Dustin Brakebill. This has been CK Podcast number 300. Wow, this has been a long time to get to this great number. And you know what? Since it's 300, it feels like Spartacus, doesn't it, Leo?
Yes, it does.
It feels like Spartacus. For Leo BS, for E-Man, I'm Dustin Details Brakebill. Thank you for listening to episode 300 of the CK Podcast. Have a great day, and, well, go Kings.